Hi, everybody, and welcome to TheNonProphets. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin. I'm your host, Jeff D. My co-hosts, as usual, are Vic Farrow and Mary McManamee.
Hi, folks.
And our producer is Russell Glasser.
Hello.
Today's opening music was Books Are Burning by XTC, a fine atheistic band from Britain that I guess their heyday is behind them now, but just about every single one of their albums has something about critical thinking or atheism or critical of religion in general on it. We are live June 8, 2002. The Atheist Community of Austin is a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings Sunday mornings at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop at 307 West 5th Street at 10:30 a.m., except for the first Sunday of each month when we have our lecture series at 11 a.m. in the Longhorn Room of Furr's Cafeteria at North Cross Mall. The next lecture will be on July 7. ACA board meetings are at 10 on the second Sunday of every month as part of the regular meeting. If you shop at the Randall's grocery store chain, you can give them our nonprofit organization number, which is 5158, and 1% of your purchase will automatically be donated to the Atheist Community of Austin. The Godless Gamers meet Monday nights at 7 p.m. at Mike Lace. ACA Happy Hour is at Antonio's near Highway 35 and 183. Again, all this is in Austin, Texas, so those of you in Delaware or wherever, sorry, you're out of luck. The Happy Hour is Thursday nights at 7:30 p.m., and for more information, you can call our voicemail at area code 512-371-2911 or visit our website at www.atheist-community.org. We are broadcasting live it's 2 o'clock Central Time right now, and on Saturday, and we're on every Saturday.
That's right.
But you can also listen to our past episodes of the show either by going to atheistnetwork.com or to the Atheist Community of Austin website, www.atheist-community.org. On the Atheist Network site, however, if you log in during the live broadcast, you can also click on the chat link and join in the chat room to chat with other listeners to the show while we're going out live, and we monitor that during the show to see if there's anything folks want to contribute from there. I want to welcome the people that are in the chat room right now.
Hi.
Grand Dr. Rastaman and B. Cutler. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining in.
Those are some new listeners.
They were here when we got here.
Oh, okay.
Except for Rastaman. He's always...
All right.
Okay, well,
I know.
they're there. Let's see. I guess I talked about my geocache last week. Okay, so, we're always hearing horrible things that people in the media or churches or other walks of life are saying about atheists. When you hear that kind of stuff in the media now, you can report it to the National Atheist Ombuds by emailing ombuds@atheism.org. When you report what you've heard, include as many details as possible and a news source where applicable. They will distribute that information to national and local non-theist organizations who will write press releases and get the word out about the way that horrible, unfair, unjust, biased, prejudiced things are being said about atheists all the time. Mm-hmm. Upcoming ACA activities on June 8, that's today, isn't it?
Hey, yeah.
Today, the Freethinkers Association of Central Texas, that's an atheist group down in San Antonio,
right,
is holding a cookout, and we are among the ACA here in Austin is among the folks who have been invited. I know Amanda and I are getting in a car with Laura right after the audio show and heading down there.
Yeah.
And Vic, you're planning on going. Mary, you going?
No, Tim and I are not going.
Why not?
Well, we're going to do other stuff this week.
Aha.
Yeah.
What other stuff? Let's see. So it's kind of late.
I'm kind of interested in your other stuff now, too.
It's
classified.
It's kind of late to get information on how to go there now, but maybe Michelle is still home. If you're an ACA member and you know Michelle's address,
are there any video cameras involved?
There's also been many emailed announcements. Are you guys about this? You have a ton and a half of news to get through today. All right, can you save the comedy until we get to the actual news stories?
Okay. We just can't help it.
I've lost my place now. Anyway, so about this cookout.
Yeah.
Tons of information was distributed over the ACA email list, so if you didn't get it, you're out of luck. On June 15, the U.S. Catholic bishops are meeting in Dallas, and there is a protest scheduled by Metroplex atheists up there, and the ACA has again been invited to participate in that, and I'm planning on going. You can contact Michelle for more information on that. That's June 15. Is that a week from today, exactly?
Yes, it is.
Oh, boy. I might not be able to make it on account of the audio show. The Fourth World Skeptics Conference, held by CSICOP, the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, will be held on June 20 to 23 in Burbank, California. They have more information at www.psycop.org/events/conference-2002. Godless Americans to march on Washington. Just about every political and social cause organization has done it. Gays, blacks, women, even the Promise Keepers. Groups of every ideological stripe have spoken out and demanded a seat at the table by mobilizing their supporters for a march or demonstration in our nation's capital. On Saturday, November 2, Godless Americans, individuals and representatives of the nation's diverse community of non-religious people, will make history and march on Washington, D.C. At the 28th National Convention of American Atheists, President Ellen Johnson announced this new initiative in giving godless Americans a new voice and presence. So they are reaching out to all Americans without religious beliefs and asking them to come to Washington and join in. The event will be held on the National Mall on the west side of the U.S. Capitol building from approximately 11 a.m. to 2 or 3 p.m. They are currently negotiating with for all the details on that. The rally will include speeches from representatives of various atheist, freethought, secular humanist, and other related national, regional, and local organizations. And if you're in a group out there and you haven't heard anything about this, they encourage you to contact them for information. For that information and an endorsement page where you can sign, go to www.godlessamericans.org.
Fantastic.
Another effort by American atheists, and they really should make it clear when they are involved in things like this, because this website that I'm about to tell you about is clearly one of the ones put up by American atheists. It looks just like all their other stuff, but it doesn't say American atheists anywhere on it. Secularmemorials.org is encouraging all atheist, freethought, rationalist, humanist, and other like-minded groups to begin planning secular commemorative events for the September 11, 2002 anniversary. These can include anything from silent observances to participation in other public events. The key word here is public. For info, go to www.secularmemorials.org. Yeah, there was this very unfortunate infighting between several atheist organizations, and
that's too bad.
American Atheists does go a little far sometimes in pretending that it represents all atheists, but it's not helped by other organizations lashing out at them. And my guess is that them not putting their name on this is a result of worrying about backlash. I don't see how they could possibly take credit for a bunch of different, separate, independent organizations around the country doing their own memorials on that day. But anyway,
or why would they want to?
We have quite.
I don't know.
I don't know. Quite a few members in our group who like to snipe at the.
Yes, we do, and it's all very unfortunate. Now, speaking of commemorations of September 11th, our group, the Atheist Community of Austin, did conduct our own secular remembrance. About 2-3 weeks after the event.
It was a week.
Yeah, about a week after.
Okay.
I think it was. It was at Republic Park.
Yeah.
At Republic Park, which is right near where we have our regular weekly meetings, and that went really well. A bunch of members of the group wrote statements that they read to the assembled crowd, and there was hugging and crying and
people just getting up to speak about whatever was on their mind.
And a lot of people just from the community that heard about this showed up. I mean, non-members of the group. Not a huge turnout, but respectable. Mm-hmm. And I was one of the speakers. And after the event, the statements were collected and posted to the Atheist Community of Austin website. Once again, www.atheist-community.org. I recently received an email from a Christian woman. Judging from the email address, she is at Brigham Young University.
Okay.
That's my guess. Who had some comments about who claimed to have some comments about what I said at that gathering, even though the text of what she says in response to my statement that's posted there has nothing to do with absolutely nothing to do with what I wrote. In fact, she puts words into my mouth and then responds to that. And so I wrote her back, telling her exactly what I thought about her comments.
Yeah.
And I'd like to share this with our audience now, so they'll know.
Let's do the exchange.
Get an example of what goes on behind the scenes here for those of us involved in atheist activism. And I've got the letter here, and I'm going to have Mary read the part of this K.L. Brown that emailed me.
Okay.
So it'll be clear what what that person wrote and what my response was. Go ahead.
All right. Hello. While doing a little research on the September 11th tragedy, I came upon a website that provided manuscripts of many atheist speeches at a memorial service, including your own. I myself am a Christian and am not emailing you in an attempt to criticize you for not believing in the same way that I do. What I did find confusing in your speech was that your wording at times made it seem as though you were searching for a way to explain some aspects of the day and never gave a complete answer. Being known by many as a Christian, I have been asked where was God on September 11th. I feel that he was the reason the 4 planes were not nearly at capacity. The towers were only halfway full. The 4th plane didn't reach its destination. Why the towers withstood the weight of the planes for so long, and why the towers collapsed inward.
Oh my Lanta!
I can't believe I just read that.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody understands this is not a letter from Mary. She's just all right. Here's the first. Here's my. I like to respond point by point. So what I wrote was: is that the best your supposedly omnipotent universe-creating God can do? The God who supposedly stopped the sun in the sky? She goes on.
Your speech left me wondering if you believed these things were simply miracles.
And now, before I read the rest of my response, notice, going back here, what she found confusing in my speech was that my wording at times made it seem as though I was searching for a way to explain some aspects of the day. You know what? My essay had nothing to do with any of that.
At all.
Absolutely nothing to do with that. So then she says what I wrote left her wondering if I thought these things were simply miracles. Here's my response. You are the one who thinks these things were miracles. That's what the word miracle means. That a supernatural force has interfered in the world to make things happen. I don't think it's a miracle that the planes weren't at capacity, because it's not that odd for planes to fly below capacity. The same goes for the towers being half full early in the morning. The towers collapsed inwards because architects are required to design tall buildings that way. It's called a building code violation if they don't. And the 4th plane didn't reach its destination because a handful of brave passengers gave their lives to stop the terrorists.
Right.
They did it, not your God. Besides, right now there are thousands of Muslim extremists who believe that the supposedly crash-proof towers collapsed because Allah intervened to make it so. What makes them wrong and you right? And another comment here, one of her things was that the towers withstood the weight of the planes so long.
Yeah.
Those towers were designed to simply withstand impacts by planes and not fall down at all.
Right.
At all.
Right.
How dare she claim that because they didn't fall down right away, that was a miracle?
Right.
If it was a miracle, it was this Allah's miracle making them fall when they were designed not to.
History Channel is running a show
So ludicrous.
on the Twin Towers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was made right before September 11th. There's a comment about it. But there's a clip of the actual, is the architect or the engineer that put it together, claiming how this tower could withstand a plane crash. That's in the 70s.
Yeah.
So they thought that it would be able to withstand a plane crash. What it didn't withstand was the intense heat from all that fuel that it
Right.
Planes were smaller in the 70s?
Yeah, they were. They compared it to a smaller sized plane
Basically,
than we have today.
Let me finish up here.
Right.
Basically, those
Iceberg
planes were
crew,
bombs.
Essentially,
Right.
yes.
Okay, guys?
Yeah.
There was no sign of any supernatural activity in any of these aspects of the events of 9/11.
Nope.
You know what would have been miraculous?
What?
It would have been a miracle if the passengers had been magically whisked away to safety on the ground. It would have been a miracle if the planes had stopped and hovered in midair.
Why wasn't God doing that?
And it would have been a miracle if the terrorists' box cutters had
You're
transformed
supposed to be
into
Christian.
harmless
Right.
rubber chickens. And so on. It's not a miracle when something happens that's only slightly less horrible than it might have been. It's a miracle when something miraculous happens. Nothing miraculous happened on 9/11.
Thanks for taking the time to read this email and don't feel obligated to reply.
Of course, she didn't want to hear from you.
Kristen Brown.
The point of my speech, and which you, by the way, those listening to our show can read by going to www.atheist-community.org. I think we have a link.
It'll be in the chat log. I've already got it there.
Okay. The chat log that will be posted on
We'll
on our website along with this audio will have that email address. The point of my speech was that we must all speak out when we encounter ridiculous lies and superstitions. That includes yours. Let me sum it up again for you. The willingness to believe unproven superstitions and fairy tales, including your God, is the cause of tragedies like 9/11.
Yep.
Those terrorists who flew the planes in the belief that Allah would reward them in the afterlife had exactly as much evidence of their God's existence as you have for yours. 0. We will not have a world where otherwise normal people don't flip out and decide it's okay to commit an atrocity until we stop believing in things like gods who supposedly have the power or authority to justify such behavior. And don't tell me your God would never do such a thing. The Old Testament is a catalog of war atrocities supposedly ordered by your infinitely loving God. The only difference between you Christians and the 9/11 terrorists is that you haven't found a cause you wanted to commit atrocities for and invoked your God to give you permission to do it yet. Do the world a favor and get out from under that web of superstition before it's too late.
Well said.
And notice that I'm referring only to modern Christians in America, and only most of them, when I say they haven't found an excuse.
Oh, they have, though.
They have. There are individual cases now, and huge, like, church-wide movements in the past. When you look at, like, the Inquisition, which was nothing but an atrocity committed because they thought their God said it was okay.
Yep.
All right.
And not only that, but you have that story about the anti-abortionists, which we'll get to shortly.
Yes, we will.
I'd say that's
one of the
their
modern
cause.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not every anti-abortionist is a assassin.
No, of
but
course
some
not.
of them are.
Some of them are.
Non-Profits Atheist Experience CDs. Now you can collect past episodes of the Non-Prophets and also an audio version of our sister show, The Atheist Experience, which airs on public access television only in Austin, Texas, in a convenient CD format. Each CD includes I had the word there twice in my notes, includes a full month's worth of audio from both shows in both QuickTime and MP3 format. January, February, March, April, and now May.
Yeah.
It is out.
CDs are currently available, and they are $5 each. For info, contact atheist@mac.com. And I should add that in addition to the audio from those shows, there's generally some extras.
Bonus.
Like printable T-shirt designs. There was a paper model of the Beagle, Darwin's ship that he sailed on when he went to the Galapagos.
Very cool.
That you can cut out and glue together. All kinds of fun extra stuff in there. Okay. Whew. That's it for announcements and stuff. You guys want to get to news?
Yeah.
Sure.
Speaking of the Galapagos, actually, there was an article, I don't have it with me, unfortunately, but it was in yesterday's paper, I think, about how the some really large iguanas are not doing very well after that oil slick that hit the Galapagos a few months back.
Yeah.
They're not doing well. They're very sick, and a lot of them have died and are dying.
Well, they should
one
take
more species off the face of the planet.
They need to take genetic samples of those things. You know why?
That is.
Because in Sydney, Australia, they have reconstructed the DNA of the Tasmanian tiger.
That is unbelievable.
And they didn't even have carefully preserved blood samples. They had Tasmanian tiger corpses in formaldehyde.
Wow.
That's all they had, as far as I know. Let me read the story.
Okay.
Conjuring images of Jurassic Park. This is more 1800s Park. Australian scientists say they are on the way to reviving a previously extinct species, the Tasmanian tiger, using cloning. The last Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, died in captivity around 65 years ago. The dog-like creature was a carnivorous pouched marsupial with distinctive stripes. Lived in Australia's Tasmania state. That's the island of Tasmania, separate from the main continent of Australia. Geneticists said Tuesday they had successfully replicated thylacine DNA using a process called polymerase chain reaction, or PCR. This breakthrough allows them to produce millions of pure copies of undamaged DNA fragments, which they believe can work in a living cell. The next stage is to make large quantity copies of all the genes of the Tasmanian tiger so these can be used to construct synthetic chromosomes. Okay, it's not quite as far around as I told you, as I told you guys before the show. They've got bits of their DNA. They still have to string them together. Okay. No other long-extinct species has ever been cloned, although unsuccessful attempts were made to extract DNA from a frozen mammoth. Remember the frozen mammoth story?
Yeah.
They didn't get any DNA from that?
The woolly mammoth.
They didn't get any DNA from that.
Damn.
Apparently it wasn't intact. It's been too long.
Frozen too long?
I guess.
Okay. That's been in the ground 11,000.
Well, maybe they're making more attempts. I don't know. It just hasn't worked so far.
Right. Because they got that woolly mammoth almost completely intact. He was
I know. I saw the show too.
Well, like in Jurassic Park, are they going to actually have to get DNA from other living species and combine it with the extinct?
Say.
Okay, not really.
Say.
That's probably more like Disneyland.
Not very old corpses that have been preserved. You'd think that they should be able to construct complete chains from that.
I don't know.
Then they'll have to have a surrogate.
This species that is about to go extinct, you could extract DNA from it.
Yeah, we should be doing that now.
DNA.
We should be doing that now. We never know when we're going to kill off some other species of wildlife. We should be cataloging all this stuff now. In fact, I think that's being done.
I would think so.
Okay, now if humans are responsible for the extinction of an animal and we find a way to bring them back through cloning, is that still bad cloning? Because, are fundamentalists still going to be pissed off about this?
Because these soulless thylacines, Vic, don't you realize?
Right. Well, because they won't be real because they won't have their godly soul. But then animals don't have souls anyway.
See, what we should do is we should catalog all these different living species. Then we can go ahead and pave the planet, wipe out the atmosphere, wipe out the biosphere, live in our domed cities until we've gotten our technology to the point where we can all go into space, and then some, hobbyists can stay behind on Earth and restore the planet to its natural state. I think that's a grand, wonderful scheme.
There you go.
I think we'll all just be living in the mall, basically.
Essentially, the big dome cities will be the big shopping mall with apartments.
You never leave them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's much more like we'll be living online.
Well, space is the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Because you live inside an enclosed environment.
But at least you're going somewhere.
Well, not if you're orbiting.
Well, yeah.
I imagine that a habitable space station would be something to the effect of something that also has an orbit around the sun.
Yeah.
Or similar like that. Or a moon station. That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be cool.
Chinese are going to have a moon base by 2010. That's their plan.
What? Really?
Wow.
You guys didn't hear this story?
No.
Chinese government has announced their intention of beefing up their space program and having a permanent manned base on the moon by 2010.
Why? They just want to live up there?
Because that is an obvious next step to having a presence in space.
So why isn't the U.S. talking about this?
Because we are retards.
We could have had a moon-based station 20 years ago.
We could have.
If we had kept up with the...
Americans can't see past a 3-month profit and loss sheet.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
You think it's that long?
Really, the problem was we never replaced the initial impetus for our space program, which was the Russians, with a really clear goal of our own. A really clear practical goal, like, owning the moon, for example, which the Chinese will do if they...
They get there first, they own the moon, everybody else comes second.
That's right.
So, they'll be Red Moon, China.
Hey, you know, that it makes perfect sense. It's a wonderful source of raw materials.
Yes.
It's a place where you can launch rockets from for a lot cheaper because it's lower gravity, right? And it's got raw materials. Unlike the International Space Station, cool as it is, right, which makes a nice jumping off point for places like the moon. There's no raw materials up there to harvest to make your rockets out of. If you go to the moon, you set up factories, you harvest the materials of the moon, you build your spaceships out of it, right? And you are off. You are then off to Mars. You're off to the asteroid belt where there's huge supplies of natural resources.
Exactly.
You know, somebody is going to be in charge in space. Somebody's going to have control of those resources. And those opportunities.
I mean, this really just harkens back to the stories that we've done on the show before about how Americans don't understand science. I mean, we can't even get straight teaching science in the public schools, much less being able to compete with China.
We have this massive barrier right now, and that is the resurgence of the religious right.
Yeah.
Who are these people who want to take us back to the horse and buggy wagon days?
Ignorant.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence, I don't think, that the general lack of vision that we've had in this country, you know, for having huge goals, right? Having somewhere we wanted to go, something we wanted to accomplish, right?
By
something worth living for, worth doing, right? The lack of that has gone hand in hand with a widespread belief that there weren't going to be any more Earth after 2000.
Right.
You know,
we're all supposed to
2001 or so. And here we are. We've gotten past that threshold, and the predictions of the imminent demise of the Earth have largely slacked off, though, you know, the conflicts in the Middle East always keep those going.
Yeah.
And we need to, like, shake that off and set our sights on something and go somewhere and do something. And, boy, I just hope...
We don't have the White House leadership, though, for that right now.
Well,
you don't have the House and Senate leadership.
No, that either.
You'd hope that at least these fanatical right-wing lunatics that we have in the executive branch right now would look at what China's plans are and respond, at least for the wrong reasons, with a boost with a boost to our space program.
There you go.
Can we not at least have let's beat the Chinese? Because once we're out there and we've got the resources, then we'll have to protect them, right? Then we'll have to defend them, and then we'll have practical reasons for keeping our space program going. Our quick jump out to the moon to pick up some scientific samples and bring them back wasn't enough of an excuse to keep it going.
Well, it's interesting, too, how socially, you know, ever since the first Apollo landed on the moon, I mean, you know, there's been kind of this whole idea just in society of, oh, well, that's boring, you know. Well, we've been to the moon, that's that.
What's wrong with these people?
But, you know, I mean, really, people stopped watching the moon landings, you know, that were televised.
Right.
You
they
know,
stopped televising them.
Yeah, they stopped televising.
Well, they stopped doing them, too.
Yeah, I mean, everybody... and I think that's a lot of the reason why we're not up there.
About how the whole thing was faked. They never went there.
Yeah, that's been going on for a long time.
Now, it's about to get a lot worse, because now there are some Republicans who are trying to change the tax code so that churches may recruit voters without jeopardizing their tax status.
You have this news story?
I do not have it. I read over it, and it was a very in-depth story. But there's it's in its early stages now. But they are working on changing the tax code so that you can have churches putting out voter guides and making voter blocks so that Republicans can get voted into offices, take complete control, and shut every damn thing down.
Right.
You know, and they talk about liberals in their police state, but hey, look where we're at now. Well, first time we have a big major kaboom, the Republicans go straight to the strong arm tactics and looking over your emails and
we've got that story.
Being able to arrest people.
Well, there's not a lot of difference between Republicans and Democrats as far as wanting to take individual freedoms away from the citizens and take control. I mean, there's no big difference there. The only difference is in their motives for wanting to do it and in some of their tactics about how they're going about it. Big freaking deal.
One of their allies is not a person, but an attitude of apathy that you have in this country where, if there's an election today for the presidency, half the people who are eligible to vote will sit at home
Right.
Yeah.
And of the half that actually would go, who actually are registered, about half of those are probably going to sit at home too. So a small minority can be coerced. You can get a minority if you've got the minority that's actually going to do the voting. And so apathy is a killer of our form of government, because now.
Yeah, the problem is, it's not solely that we've got apathy. We've got apathy about politics, and then we got fanaticism
along with it.
We got fanaticism about the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I want to see some fanatical space programs in Portland.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Why don't we have people out marching in the streets with signs saying, let's have
we want the moon.
10 times as much money. Yeah, we want the moon.
Yeah, instead, you know what we have? Is, as far as fanaticism about space, is we get Heaven's Gate out of that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Who wants to do a news story?
Me.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You're on this subject, aren't you?
I am.
Okay.
I am. This is the story that we were just talking about, actually, about the Justice Department has said basically it's okay now for the FBI to allow its agents to monitor religious meetings and internet traffic. And the expanded powers will give the FBI the tools it needs to pursue terrorists who hide in plain sight and target citizens. This is according to Assistant U.S. Attorney General Viet Din. The changes were announced this week by FBI Director Robert Miller and Attorney General John Ashcroft. It will lift restrictions on the FBI's use of the internet.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It will lift restrictions on on the FBI's use of the internet and public libraries to give agents more freedom to investigate terrorism, even when they are not pursuing a particular case. See, that's what's disturbing about it, is because under existing rules, the FBI agents are not allowed to do general research on the internet or at public libraries unless the information sought is directly related to a case that they're working on. But now with this new mandate and new FBI guidelines, basically the FBI agents can go in and monitor anybody they damn well want to. They don't have to justify working on a case in order to do it. And the thing that seems particularly disturbing about that to me is just that I think about our own little atheist group. I don't want the FBI, monitoring me because they think that I might be up to something just because I'm an atheist.
Right.
Hey, let them.
They don't like you.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Let them look. They might actually get a few new numbers.
McCarthyism.
Yeah,
that's
McCarthyism.
exactly what happened to the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's why they're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, I know. Whatever happened with, didn't we learn anything from McCarthyism, as Vic, you've mentioned before many times on this show?
Short memories. And nobody is looking back into our past. Remember, we talked about the history scores recently. Nobody knows their own history, so they don't keep track. They don't remember. And so this stuff cycles over and over and over again, and it's always new when it first happens. Because nobody remembers. And that's...
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I also want to preface what I just said by saying that I'm not paranoid, the FBI is going to be looking for information on me or anybody else in the atheist group. I think they have better things to do. But I am saying, though, that it does set a chilling precedent that we've seen before in the McCarthy era, and other points in history, that it seems like you're just saying, we haven't learned a damn thing.
Not a damn thing. If people would just get a little bit savvy on what's going on, there'd be such a public outcry that none of this stuff could happen.
Yeah, I mean, and this
politicians, if anything, will respond to public backlash.
Yeah,
but you can't get public backlash from an ignorant population that doesn't care.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right. And this story, I have to say, this story was quite buried. I mean, it is on the Associated Press newswire.
Well, I heard about that.
But you did?
It was covered on CNN and stuff.
Okay, well, that's good.
But it's like, CNN will do that story and say, some people think it's good, and some people think it's bad, and leave it at that.
I know.
It's like, bullshit.
Yeah.
The only people who think that's good are people that want to take away our freedoms.
Right.
How is that good for anybody else?
It's not. It's letting the Constitution snore in the worst way. It's like giving the Constitution a Valium, you know.
I want to move things along here because we do have a pile of news.
Right.
What else do we have on the shenanigans of our federal government? Anything?
Shenanigans of federal government.
Anybody got any stories on that theme?
I don't have feds really, but I've got a lot going on overseas.
Overseas, we can do overseas next.
Okay.
But remember, we're holding off on the pedophilia stuff till the end.
Yeah. No, I'm not even getting to that yet.
Okay.
This has been like a really wacky week in religion. I must say, this is just really.
Vic, you got any overseas stuff?
No.
Okay, I'll go after Mary then.
Okay.
And,
go ahead, Mary.
Okay. This is quite a interesting story out of Islamabad, Pakistan. I'm sure we've already, I don't know if we talked about it on this show because I've been out and about, but basically an Islamic court on Thursday overturned the conviction of a woman who was to be stoned to death for adultery. Remind me again what century we're living in?
Well, that is Pakistan, right?
Well, yeah, but so? I mean, well, anyway. Zufran Bibi, age 28, said she was raped by her brother-in-law.
Right.
And appealed her early May conviction in the conservative Northwest Frontier province.
She was raped.
Yes.
And
repeatedly raped.
She got convicted of adultery and sentenced to death.
By stoning.
And what happened to the brother-in-law?
The brother-in-law, nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I should point out that the Rationalists International, which is an organization based in India, and they were involved in the Monkey Man thing that happened in India a while ago, where people
We're seeing the Monkey Man.
It was the heat of the summer, and so a lot of people were like sleeping on the rooftops in New Delhi.
Yeah.
And the story, what do you call it? The mass delusion got started that there was this Monkey Man guy leaping from rooftop to rooftop, terrorizing people, and the police in New Delhi responded by putting out more patrol officers to try to catch it. These guys, Rationalists International, contacted the police, explained to them, this is a mass hysteria. There is no Monkey Man. There's no such thing. What you need to do is tell people this is an hysteria, there's no such thing. They did that, and
everything was fine.
Very, very quickly, for a mass hysteria, it died out.
Yeah.
I think they're the same people that go to universities in India to disprove the God-men.
Yes.
Showing the same tricks that they use these
very activist,
tricks.
Internationally activist rationalist group. They spearheaded a letter-writing campaign on behalf of Zufran Bibi, and so you can give them some of the credit for this.
Good. Yeah. This is just unbelievable to me, but extramarital sex is a crime punishable by death under Pakistan's Hudud Ordinance, a strict Islamic law criticized by human rights activists as discriminatory against women.
She's the only one to be convicted.
Yeah.
Is he married? The brother-in-law?
I don't know.
If he's married, even rape or not, he's still committed adultery.
Yeah, I never have seen an article that said what his marital status is. But, get this, her own husband, Naimat Khan, has appealed the overturn of her conviction. So basically, he wants her to be stoned to death.
Yeah.
And of course, this is his brother.
Let me take a look at this. I'm not interpreting that right.
In a male-dominated culture like that.
What else would that mean? If they've already said, okay, no, she's not going to be stoned, and now her own husband is appealing that, to me that means he's in favor of it.
I guess you're right.
So he's going to have his wife stoned.
Yeah, because
his brother-in-law will still be coming to dinner next week.
Yeah, sure. She's disgraced now because she was raped, and even though it had absolutely nothing to do with
There's this big cultural thing about shaming the family name that goes along with that.
So it's disgusting.
Here's more religious craziness from overseas.
Yeah.
Though actually, this is a good story. Swiss abortion poll angers bishops. Zurich, Switzerland. Catholic bishops in Switzerland have deplored an overwhelming decision by voters to legalize abortion. The referendum result on Sunday decriminalized abortions carried out up to 12 weeks into a pregnancy. What is it in the U.S.?
12, I think.
3 months.
3 months, yeah.
That's
12 weeks.
12 weeks, same thing. The Swiss people accepted the proposal to relax the law by a margin of nearly 3-1, bringing legislation in line with most other European countries. The new law takes effect on October 1. So, young ladies in Switzerland and young men, be careful. More than 80% of voters rejected a rival proposal to ban abortion completely.
Huh.
Justice Minister Ruth Metzler, who had campaigned for the abortion proposal that her Christian Democrat Party opposed,
Wow.
so she went against her own party to support this, said the referendum result was an historical victory for women. So good for them in Switzerland.
Yay.
Wow.
What else do we have from overseas?
Oh gosh, you're not. Oh, okay, you're not gonna believe this.
I will.
This is just the most.
I'm a credulous guy. I'll believe anything.
Okay, this is out of Africa. This is off the allafrica.com newswire.
Yeah.
European countries have been accused of overflogging the HIV/AIDS campaign to boost their market for condoms. This is according to Alhaj Jafaru Makarfi, Assistant Secretary General of the Kaduna chapter of the Jamatu Nasirul Islam. He made the observation at the ceremony of a 2-day seminar organized by the Public Affairs section in the United States Embassy. According to Makafari, the question to be asked... I can't even read this. Okay, the question to be asked should be where AIDS originated from and why it should be associated with Africa.
And not how to cure it or how to slow its propagation?
Oh, it gets worse. The cleric said there are more terrible diseases in the continent which he said were neglected by the Western world, but that they have decided to concentrate only on the HIV/AIDS and introduce the use of condoms to boost the economic fortunes of Europe-based condom producers.
What?
Can you believe that shit? I just cannot. It's no wonder Africa has among the highest rate.
Ma'am, you got a problem with that? Start your own African condom company.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that hard. Condoms are not brain science.
That's not what it is. That has nothing to do with it.
Machinery and latex.
That's right. They could make condoms in Africa. They could get their share of that market. What is the problem?
No, the rest of it, he says, is that it's also a means to corrupt the social...
He? I thought it was a she a second ago.
Well, I don't think so.
Okay.
Although it doesn't, no, there's no gender, though. It just says the cleric, but I'm assuming it's a man.
Yeah,
I think it's a man.
Said she a second ago.
No.
Okay.
Also, condoms promote, basically, increased sexual intercourse among the young generation.
Woo!
See, that's really what they're worried about.
Yeah.
But of course, if you let them have sex without condoms, they're going to get AIDS. You know, especially because
don't let them have sex.
That's the whole thing. AIDS is cursed by God for having sex without, approval from the church.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to love this. Now, this reminds me a lot, actually, Jeff, of the letter you just read from Kristen Brown.
Oh boy.
He says, he reminded participants at the seminar that only God can control population and that no human being should ever think they are wiser than God by introducing birth control, adding that control of birth is the prerogative of God.
No!
I don't believe it.
That's the kind of guy you want to go up to him and thump him on the head. Thump. What the hell's wrong with you, man?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wedgie.
I got big news for these people. Sex is nice. Sex is nice.
Real nice.
Look into
Sex is
it.
a nice thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Try it. You'll like it.
Just like you want to wear the proper equipment if you go skydiving or you go running or you go swimming or whatever, you want to take your obvious precautions, but basically it's nice and it's fun and there's no big deal.
Yeah.
Parachutes.
More from across the sea?
Yes.
I have more crazy Islam from across the sea.
What is it? Could it get any crazier than that?
Top Saudi imam sees conspiracy. Saudi Arabia's top Muslim cleric has called on the Islamic world to unite against a worldwide conspiracy of Hindus, Christians, Jews, and secularists threatening Islamic moral values. Now, first of all, Christians do not get along with secularists.
No, not at all.
And they hardly get along with Jews or Hindus.
Oh, but that doesn't matter.
So, where the idea that there could be a conspiracy between these groups comes from, well, Comes from his fevered little brain. Muslims, he said, should cleanse themselves from creeping Western values and American-controlled globalization. Now, maybe globalization in some senses of the word is a bad thing. There are other groups that are against globalization for other reasons, but as far as I know, they are not claiming that there is a conspiracy between diametrically opposed religious views. In a television address, Sheikh Abd al-Rahman al-Sudais, the Imam of the Mosque of Mecca, Islam's holiest shrine, turned his ire on the followers of India's dominant religion as tension mounted between that country and mainly Muslim Pakistan. That would be the Hindus he's attacking now. The idol-worshipping Hindus in the idol... I can't do Arabian voice. Sorry. The idol-worshipping Hindus indulge in their open hatred against our brothers and sanctities in Muslim Kashmir, threatening an imminent danger and a fierce war in the whole Indian subcontinent. Well, that is true. It is true that Hindus and Muslims are at each other's throats in India, and that has a lot to do with the conflict that was threatening to go nuclear between India and Pakistan, right, over the Kashmir region. That's all true. I don't know where secularists and Jews and Christians come in that particular little squabble, but...
It's just more people that guy hates.
Yeah.
The linkage of Hinduism with the sort of invective normally reserved for Jews and the supporters of Israel, together with scathing remarks about Christians, made his speech unusual. Since Saudi Arabia's leaders exercise tight control on their media and on the government-appointed imams, their comments, especially from Mecca and on the main television channel, are seen as indicators of the Saudi government's views. Now, last time I checked, yes, please, Russell. Wasn't Saudi Arabia like our close ally in the Middle East?
No, not really.
We have military bases.
We just have to get along with them.
We have military.
Oil.
Yes, we do. We have an uneasy alliance.
There are not a whole lot of other countries in the region that we like.
No, we don't really like them either. But
apparently they don't really like us either.
No, they don't.
No.
Because we're not Muslim, and they're not Christian, and that's all that it stems from.
Yeah. There's a counterpart to this, a fella in Italy, and I didn't bring the story, but he wrote a book saying that Islam was this aggressive competing religion, and that Christians were the most persecuted in history, in all of history.
Oh, please.
And he said the same thing this guy said, except it twisted it around, making Christians the victims.
Right.
Christians, Muslims, shut the hell up. Hindus too.
We're sick of
Shut the hell up. You're all completely
up.
Full of shit. All of you. You have something on Kashmir,
on
don't
the
you?
Kashmir region. I do.
Can you give us a
indeed.
quick background on that?
Yes, I can. I thought this was interesting because it really is a good article about what is really going on in Kashmir in terms of why are they fighting over there. It says here, this is from the Star Tribune, the dispute over Kashmir, the remote mountain region that has brought India and Pakistan to the brink of war, isn't about oil or other riches, and it's not about strategic military importance. Rather, the conflict has already spawned 2 wars, is about religious and national identity.
Yeah, that's true, Vic.
The conflict began in 1947 when India gained independence from Great Britain. Of course, around the time of Mahatma Gandhi.
And they're fighting over it.
Yes, they're fighting over it. Because of religion. Sorry.
That's right. That's right. Okay, again, the conflict began in 1947 when India gained independence from Great Britain. Remember who we think about?
Oh, yeah,
Gandhi. Okay.
Right.
India's leaders envisioned a secular state. In which the large Muslim minority would have equal rights with the Hindu majority. But Muslim leaders wanted a separate Islamic state comprising the majority Muslim areas. The partition occurred. India and Pakistan were created as separate nations, but Kashmir was a border area with Muslim majority that remained mostly under Indian control by a series of historical flukes. Indian leaders have argued that to give up Kashmir just because it is a majority Muslim area would be abandoning India's claims to secularism. Pakistani leaders have insisted that allowing the Muslim majority in Kashmir to remain part of India would be a blot on Pakistan's reason for existence, to be the country formed from the Muslim portions of the Indian subcontinent.
Yeah.
So, in a sense...
Get over yourself.
Gandhi's hard work shot to shit.
Yep, completely. Well, almost.
During his lifetime, even.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The northernmost state of India, Kashmir, is about the size of Minnesota. It sits on the border of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, and the disputed Chinese province of Tibet. Portions of the territory are renowned for their beauty. Kashmir has been majority Muslim territory since the 14th century, although some areas have Hindu and Buddhist majorities. From 1586 to 1572, it was controlled by the Mughals, the Muslim empire that spread into much of India. In the 19th century, of course, Britain gained control of Kashmir, then sold it in 1847 for the equivalent of about $75 million to a Hindu Maharaja named Gulab Singh. It's S-I-N-G-H. I think that is... Singh. I think that's correct.
All right.
Okay, and he and his descendants ruled it for the next 100 years as one of the hundreds of princely states run by local royalty under British influence. And, of course, we know Gandhi and the rest is history. But,
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so, it's kind of interesting that the, in a sense, this is sort of a secular holy war, which we don't often hear about. We don't usually, for example, like in the one side wants to be a secular nation, but then the other side, of course, wants to be Muslim. So, thank you. So, we're getting chocolate cake, so sorry. We're getting a little off topic.
Yeah, because we are some stupid white people sitting around complaining about what other colored people in other parts of the world are doing with their personal business. But bottom line, there's like a serious risk of nuclear war between Pakistan and India.
Yep.
Somebody stubs their toe in India, 47 people are hospitalized. I don't know if you ever watched the news from India, but it's like that. Anything goes wrong, there's huge deaths. They got packed like 3 deep in that country or something. Yep. I don't get it.
Yeah.
If there's nuclear war, it's going to be the worst thing that ever happened on the planet.
Ever.
Even if it only happens there. Right?
And
we don't want that to happen, even though we don't know any of those people. We think their religions are stupid. We think they're a bunch of frickin' morons.
But I prefer you didn't blow each other up.
Yeah.
We're going to sit here and eat our cake and hope that they have some shred of rationality left.
That's why I don't be caught in the cloud of nuclear fallout that travels the Earth after a nuclear war.
Yeah. Well, here it says...
well, there's not... Yeah.
Well, actually, if this is... I don't know if this is going to be much consolation, but...
no, it's not.
Okay. But, let's see. This article cites a source. Unfortunately, I don't see his first name at the moment, but his last name is Schwartzberg. Anyway, like I say, if you want to find the article, just go over to the Star Tribune. But anyway...
What does he say?
He says the estimated chance of a nuclear war over Kashmir is at 5 to 10%. Now, 10% is kind of on the high side.
That's way too much.
Yeah, for a nuclear war, hell yeah.
Yes, on one of the other shows on the Atheist Network.
That's Joseph Schwartzberg of the University of Minnesota.
On one of the other shows on the Atheist Network, and again, I really ought to take notes on this, because I listened to all that stuff, and then I don't remember which show told me what. There was an interview with a guy knowledgeable in that region, saying the same kind of thing, that it's unlikely that they will intentionally go have nuclear war with each other because they have a lot of shared resources, because their two countries are right next door. Right. Nuclear bombs are great for sending across the Pacific to blow up Japan, right?
Right. But see, there go your natural resources.
That's my tasteless thing for the day.
And they don't. Neither of them want India to become a quiet neighborhood for about 10,000 years.
What both countries are lacking are the kinds of very high security control mechanisms to keep the nuclear weapons from being set off accidentally.
Right.
Oh,
and that is the biggest risk.
Right.
And a terrorist organization could get a hold of one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Set it off in anger.
Well, where are we at?
Want more Muslim craziness from across the seas?
Let's go for it.
Uzbek Muslims find consolation in Lamb of God. Secular government annoyed. From Durman Village,
Great
Uzbekistan,
headline.
just 3 days before a major Islamic holiday, which was a few days ago now, a lamb was born with white patterns on its black fleece, said to resemble the Arabic word for Allah on one side and Muhammad on the other. The phenomena has caused a sensation among ordinary people in this former Soviet state where most people are Muslims and had been an annoyance and has been an annoyance to authorities in the staunchly secular government. Mainstream religious organizations are pursuing a campaign to characterize the lamb as nothing special. But thousands have flocked to this village. Thousands have flocked to this village in the eastern Fergana Valley to see what they believe is a lamb of God sent to strengthen Muslims' faith. Religion is an extremely sensitive matter in this Central Asian country where the government has been cracking down on Islamic militants for several years. Officials worry the lamb may boost the ranks of opposition sympathizers. Adding a political angle, the lamb belongs to a family that had a young male relative beaten to death by security officers last November after he was detained for alleged links to a banned religious group.
No. That's
Mary's tasteless comment for the week.
Muslims already have enough strength of faith that they're going to fly planes into buildings. Do we really want it stronger?
Oh, check this out. The lamb is owned by Kudoyberdi Odilov, 36, whose first name that I can't pronounce means given by God, and family name that I can't pronounce means just. He says the lamb is maybe God's answer to his prayers for justice for his dead nephew, Ali Mohammad Mahadaliev, which I think I almost pronounced right. And consolation for his family and other suffering people. Quote, "This is how God shows his mercy," unquote.
By speckling a lamb?
Yeah!
Okay, now why is it that
that harkens back to the...
Why is it?
We almost have another naked show here. Getting back to the email that I received about my address on 9/11, it's astonishing to me how far people are willing to stretch to consider something an act of God.
I know.
It's like the building didn't fall down right. The first tower didn't fall down right away.
Yeah, what?
It didn't quite have all of its seats full on the airplane. Those are miracles.
Yeah.
A lamb got born that has some patterns of black on its side that credulous people can interpret as Islamic writing. That shows God's mercy. You know what would show God's mercy?
What?
If that nephew had come back to life after being beaten to death.
Yeah.
Right. And the people who beat him to death got punished.
And the people who died in the planes on September 11th would come back alive. Right. And the people who died in the World Trade Center. Right. And the people who died in the Pentagon.
Why is it that this omnipotent God who can create universes and stop the sun can only find the best way he could find to communicate with people was with speckles on sheep and images on tortillas and ice cream that's falling off of a cone. Why can't... If this is how he's want to do it, go ahead and use the clouds. Okay, they're adjustable. You can move them around. Write messages in the sky with clouds on a daily basis for about a year. You might get through.
Yeah.
All right, do something...
See, and God could do that.
Yeah, well,
and it would be miraculous.
He could give a yearly State of the Universe address if he wanted.
There you go, in the clouds.
Well, yeah. Well, that's it for Muslim craziness from across the sea that I have.
Well, I've got. What you got?
Oh well, this is more of a silly story.
I got craziness from other places across.
I got craziness from right here in the United States.
Well, let's wait till we get back to the U.S.
All right.
Let's finish off the overseas stuff and then get back to
last one. Okay, Thai police say a monk stole nearly 5,000 pounds from his temple to gamble on World Cup matches.
Now that's British pounds, right?
Yes, British pounds. Not,
wait a minute. That's the money.
The money, folks.
British pounds.
Yeah. Not like 5,000 pounds.
Because Britain has kilograms now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, they have the euro, too, I guess. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. The Chad Luik newspaper, this is in Thailand, says the 26-year-old faces charges of stealing over 300,000 baht. Chiang Mai police say the head monk at Wat Donai Temple reported bank books were missing. Police say the suspect forged the head monk's ID card and withdrew the cash to gamble on the World Cup. Reports don't say if the monk had any winning bets. Police say gambling on the World Cup is a big problem in Chiang Mai. Gambling is illegal in Thailand. So,
Oh, my.
And right up! Here comes the next.
Yeah.
All right. Here's religious craziness from Turin. Turin is in Italy?
I think that's... Wait a minute.
Somewhere around there.
I think so.
The name sounded Italian.
Is that where the Shroud of Turin is supposedly from?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that is Italy. Yes.
A priest who uses magic tricks to entertain his congregation has asked the Pope to name a patron saint of conjurers, magicians, and wizards.
Huh?
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Are we talking
He's
about...
not dead yet.
He's not alive yet either.
Can he be dead to be a saint, or can he still be alive?
I'm not
I don't know.
dead yet.
Wait, one of the other guys died in the
I
fourth
feel
book.
fine.
Never mind.
Oh, well.
That's now my irony meter is going off because religion is nothing but magic tricks. Don Silvio Mantelli, a Salesian priest from Turin, presented a magic wand to the Pope earlier this year and asked for the title to be given to a 19th century Italian priest, Saint Giovanni Bosco.
Wait, did you say he's a Salesi priest from Turin? No, sorry. Salesian.
Salesian. I thought it said
Okay.
salesman the first time I saw the word.
Well, okay, yeah.
Don Silvio says that the Pope replied, quote, "You'll need a lot of magic wands to change our world, but let's make a start with this one." He expects a favorable answer from Rome within the year. That's just what the Catholic Church needs, is a patron saint of magic tricks. You know, maybe the Pope can wave that magic wand and all the pedophilia will go away.
Yeah.
He's trying. Wave
Yeah.
the magic pen and make all of it go away.
Make his
But I'm not
Parkinson's
quite
go
ready to
away.
get back to that story yet.
All right.
I got another one from this is the link to bring us back from overseas to the United States.
Yeah. Take it home.
Buffalo, New York. The anti-abortion militant suspected in the 1998 sniper slaying of a Buffalo abortion doctor was returned to the United States from France today and pled not guilty to federal charges. James Kopp, 47, was captured in France more than a year ago and put aboard a plane in Paris after he stopped fighting extradition in the slaying of Barnett Slepian.
Bernard Slepian.
It says Barnett here.
Barnett? No,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is
think that's
Bernard
right.
Slepian,
It's
though.
Bernard.
Slepian was killed by a rifle bullet that went through the kitchen window of his suburban home. I think we all remember this story,
Yes,
right? This
that
is
was
like
in Florida, I think.
the quintessential abortion doctor killing.
Yeah.
This
Right.
is simply an assassination.
Yep.
It's Barnett.
It is
Uh-oh.
Barnett. Okay.
Kopp
Well,
was
that's good to
charged
know.
with violating a federal law against using deadly force to interfere with the right to abortion. Can't he just be charged with murder?
He is as a felony charge of second-degree murder also.
He faces life without parole on the federal charges. He could also get 25 years to life on a second-degree murder charge. You're right. Investigators said Kopp hid in the woods behind Slepian's house and gunned down the doctor after the doctor returned from a prayer service for his deceased father.
Oh, my.
So, not only are they killing abortion doctors, they're killing religious abortion doctors
Well, you know, he's tainted by
at
the devil
their
because he forms
moment
religion.
of grief.
Mm-mm-mm.
But they don't care anymore.
The guy didn't know that. He didn't know all that stuff. That's just something that he happened to be doing at the time. But he had planned. This is a planned-out assassination. He had to take the time to scout it out, make sure he knew where the shot could be
Well, he
taken.
didn't scout out what was happening in the doctor's personal life.
Yeah, all right. And good, he'll get punished.
And this was posted. Well, a related story was posted on the atheist list this week about how this particular brand of anti-abortion zealots are going around, and they are actually filming patients when
Yeah.
they come
stand
into the
out
clinics.
with digital cameras. And they're
have
also putting it's from Denver Group. There's a Denver group
Is
that's
it
putting stuff
Operation
on
Rescue?
I don't know if it's Operation Rescue,
know
but
that
a
they're
Denver
that
anti-abortion group is taking pictures of women going in and out of the Planned Parenthood and posting those pictures on the web.
I have a news story about this.
Yeah,
You
do
do?
it.
Yeah.
All right.
Anti-abortion websites getting bolder in calling for action. Quote, "The only objective way to determine your humanity and Christianity today is whether you are at war," writes Bob Loki, an ex-convict and truck driver who is president of Save the Babies.
Boy.
Loki, who describes himself as the most pro-baby man in northern Alabama,
That's nice.
Let that roll around your tongue for a while. The most pro-baby man in northern Alabama calls for capital punishment of doctors, lawyers, judges, patients, and, quote, all the way down to the janitor that disposes of the murdered little bodies. Unquote.
Which shows his ignorance of how it's disposed of.
Yeah.
The janitors take it out with the trash. That's just stupid.
Quote, we do not limit you in any way, he tells his supporters. Oppose them however and wherever you can on any front that is open to you. Protecting babies is the priority. Babies cannot protect themselves. Even homicide is justified when it is necessary to protect human life. Now.
Speechless.
What's a baby? That is a word. We apply the word to a range of phenomena. A fetus is not necessarily a baby.
Right.
No.
There is at least room for discussion. This guy simply says, the instant that sperm comes out, you got baby.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Basically. It's this hard line. This is where you get this kind of insanity, when people take hard line, unquestionable, authoritarian definitions of things. Yes. Which, I'm going to make a note here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about, what's her name? The Ten Commandments lady.
Yeah.
Dr. Laura. Dr. Laura. Yeah. There's something about her that I want to get into after this.
Okay.
Let me go on with the story. Missionaries to the Unborn, the organization of Rusty Lee Thomas of Waco. That's Waco, Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 hours north of us. The organization he is affiliated with seeks to, quote, expose and shame the hypocrisy of local churches, which are supposedly Christian, but refuse to lift a finger to help the unborn babies that are dying right outside their doors.
Hey, if you want to help unborn children, why don't you go and adopt some that are already here?
Yeah,
I'm so
distribute
tired of this shit.
condoms.
Yeah.
Right? And support sex education.
Yeah.
Because that brings the unwanted pregnancy rate down.
Right.
When you oppose those, well, let me get on. This is the effort that they're setting up. They have the Apathetic Church Online list. For inclusion on the list, the church must be 5 miles or less from an abortion clinic and know it is there either by Christian witness, phone calls, or writings. So they locate churches that are near abortion clinics and make sure those churches know about them. And then if that church does not become involved in activism to stop abortion, they put them on this list on the web. Mm-hmm. Those compiling the list want the name, address, and phone number of the church and abortion clinic. Organizers also like to have email addresses and photos of the abortion clinic and of the apathetic church. A photo of the pastor is not needed, but would be a plus, the site says. The pastor's home address and home phone number is also not needed, but would be a plus.
Why am I getting this sinking pit in my stomach as you're reading this?
It's not necessarily, we can't necessarily assume that the guy that shot Dr. Slepian didn't know that the guy was a Christian, right?
Yeah.
That he was a believer.
And he had just come back from
religious activities.
Yeah.
They are now targeting
churches.
They have expressed their willingness to target each other.
Wow.
I want so badly to latch onto this as like a glimmering ray of hope that maybe that Christianity will turn on itself and start getting involved in its own destruction.
I think it already
But probably
has.
not, because the ones that are not going to get shot are the fanatics, and that'll mean all we have left is fanatical Christianity, and that's not a good thing.
Well, I don't know. I think Christianity has really had a big blow, not only since the pedophilia scandal, but also because of September 11th. You know, I think
The priests at least have had a big blow.
Yeah.
This is comment for the day.
Number 2. This website is also seeking the denomination of the church and its stand on abortion. Denominations that take no stand on abortion are considered pro-abortion, according to the website.
You can't be neutral. You're either for us or against us.
Now,
That's a very Christian thing, too, because when I was young, I was talking to people because I was an atheist at a young age, and I was talking to people who were trying to convert me.
Yeah.
And there was like, that was the attitude they had. There was no sitting on the fence. You were either for God or you're against God.
Please. What if you're neutral?
You don't. There is no neutral. There can be no neutrality. You either are with us or you're against us. And it's a common Christian attitude. And probably in much other religions as well.
Now, you brought up rules, and I just wanted to comment on this other news story, which I didn't bring in, but it was about Dr. Laura and her new animated cartoon video for kids.
No.
What?
That, this is her new product. She has written as a children's story, or series of children's stories about God for kids, and there's cartoon animals that present this, right? And the one that they talked about in the story that I read was a video about these cartoon animals playing like checkers together. And one of the animals says, I want my pieces to be able to do this. And the animal says, I don't want to play the made-up game you're writing. I want to play checkers. And then it goes into life is the game that God created that we get to play, and He wrote the rules, and so you have to play by the rules.
Never mind that those rules are arbitrary.
I'm a game designer, okay? You know what? I happen to know for a fact there are hundreds and hundreds of chess variants. Yes. These are perfectly reasonable, acceptable, and many of them very popular variants on how to play chess. Right. Rules to a game are just not commandments from on high that you have to obey. And being the creator of a game does not entitle you, much as I would like it to, does not entitle you to even begin to insist that everybody who plays your game play it exactly the way you wrote it. And it's not like that. It is your responsibility. Huh?
You've changed rules on some games that you own.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you've modified the rules in some way. In fact, you even wrote, when we played the Buffy game, you wrote a step because they didn't have that part yet.
That's right. We have we have our weekly gaming group, the Godless Gamers, and one of the games we like to play there a lot is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer board game from Milton Bradley, which is quite excellent. and if you can still find it at Toys R Us, they discounted them down to about $5.
Oh, shit.
Anyway, the Buffy board game covers the first 4 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I wrote up a 5th season scenario. Yeah. Now, have I somehow violated the rights of the designer of the board game? No. In fact, he found where I posted those rules on the web and wrote a nice letter saying, hey, neat. That, in fact, much as I, as a game designer, when I design things, I would like the people who play my games to play them according to the rules that I wrote.
Yeah.
You can't really absolutely expect that. And what you really have to do, if you want people playing your rules, is you got then the responsibility to write rules that are good, right? To write rules that lead to an experience that the players are going to enjoy and be worth having for them, right? Yeah. That then is your job as a game designer. And you know what? The 10 Commandments are not that set of rules.
No.
The 10 Commandments are not there as a set of guidelines for life to guarantee you're going to have a good experience in life. That is what games are for. So it personally insulted me that she was using a game analogy as first of all, she doesn't have the slightest clue what she's talking about as far as the relationship between a game designer and a player is.
Yep.
But on top of that, what she's trying to prop up by use of this little analogy is the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
And we've done other shows on that. We don't have to get into the details.
Right. Yeah. And again, that was Dr. Laura.
Dr. Laura Slutty Girl. Schlesinger.
All right. So we're back to the United States.
And we have horrible, nasty things going on in the United States.
Can we do some more quick stories in the U.S.? I do want to get to the week in pedophilia.
All right. We will.
We have a responsibility.
This one deserves mentioning because it's just absolutely just disgusting.
Go, Vic.
In Taunton, Massachusetts, a religious sect leader accused of starving his infant son to death blamed the devil for making his wife doubt that God wanted them to withhold solid food from the boy, according to the diary entries read at his murder trial. The boy, Samuel Ribadeau, died on April 1999, 3 days before his first birthday, after allegedly being starved for 2 months.
Whatever happened to devil's food?
As the day grew on, Satan used the physical sight of Samuel's to really get to her. This is the religious leader talking.
Yeah.
He's obviously losing much weight and becoming much weaker. Wrote in the March 14th of 1999. Ribideau, 29, acknowledged in court that he wrote the journal. He is charged with first-degree murder. His wife, Karen, faces a separate trial on a second-degree murder charge. Ribideau describes the slow decline of his son after he and his wife followed a message his sister, Michelle Robideau Mingo, said she received from God that the boy should drink only his mother's milk and have no solid food. Prosecutors say the boy received almost no nutrition because his mother had become pregnant and was unable to produce milk.
Okay, important safety tip. When somebody tells you they got instructions from God, it is entirely possible that they are completely and utterly full of shit.
Yes, well, they're in this little religious cult and they all live together.
Uh-huh.
The prosecutor read from the diary excerpts to the jury while questioning the former sect leader who gave the journal to police in September of 1999. Denis Mingo, Michelle's ex-husband, testified on September the 12th of 1999 that he found the journal on a shelf in the communal home of the sect. Prosecutor Walter Shea asked Mingo why he waited more than a week to give the diary to the police. I wanted one last opportunity to pull my wife and children out of the group before I went to the police. He had urged Michelle to leave twice before after finding the diary, but she refused. I was in agony, he said. Samuel's body was found buried in a remote state park in Maine beside the body of his newborn cousin. Defense attorney Francis O'Boy, that's his name, said that there is no clear evidence that Samuel died of starvation and that he may have had another ailment.
What?
Well, that's the defense attorney talking.
Yeah.
This nutcase thinks that God spoke to his sister, who is also a nutcase, and told him not to feed your child.
Yeah.
And they were convicted, right?
And
or
was
convicted?
Was he convicted? His wife has not been tried yet.
Right.
She's facing the second-degree murder, and he's facing first-degree murder. Right?
Accused.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is still during
I
the
thought
court.
this was over.
Well, it may be over by now, but at the time of this story, which was written June 7th,
June 7th, that's today.
Probably not over yet.
It was Friday.
Friday, sorry. Yesterday.
So it's probably, there's still testimony to go.
All right. Well.
Dumbass. You want to go ahead and get into...
Hold that one until we get to the pedophilia.
Can I do my humor one?
Yeah, quick.
Yeah, please.
It's my only story. I'll try to make it quick.
Hey, hi everybody in the chat room. There's a decent-sized crowd in there now.
Yes, there is. But unfortunately, they're all arguing with each other.
Oh, good.
Stop that.
You got them all stirred up.
Let's see. Brentwood. I'm not going to read the... well, anyway. Brentwood, a hearing to determine whether a former East Kingston man is competent to stand trial turned into a bizarre courtroom discussion in which the man proclaimed that he is God while he was arguing to act as his own attorney. Judge Philip Holman granted a request from Michael Resk, 37, to represent himself during his attempted robbery trial, which is slated for the week of June 24th. I know the law of God, and you don't practice the law of God, Resk said to Judge Holman. I'm the man! Holman responded, what do you mean I'm the man? Resk stated, I'm God and you're not. You're on my seat and you don't belong there since you don't know who Jesus Christ is.
Good boy.
So let me understand. You think you are God. Resk, who did not stand through any part of the hearing, responded, I'm your boss. The judge repeatedly stressed to Resk the danger of proceeding without an attorney. I want you to be aware one of the risks you can suffer is you don't know what you're doing, you can end up a loser, the judge said. I'm not a loser, Resk responded. The judge also...
Yes, you are.
The judge also pointed out that the Rockingham County Attorney's Office is seeking maximum sentences on the 6 charges against Resk, which could put him in jail for 60 to 180 years. I'll live forever, Resk told the court.
Well, clearly what's so sad here is this guy's mentally ill. I mean, it's questionable that he even understands what's going on, but maybe he does. I don't know. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you want some more humor?
Yeah.
This is funny.
Okay, that's all.
All right.
A judge fined 20 members of an Amish sect Thursday for refusing to put bright orange reflective triangles on their horse-drawn buggies, saying public safety overrides any religious objections.
Yeah.
20 members of the sect were hit with 27 fines of $95 each for failing to use the slow-moving vehicle symbol. Their lawyer said she would appeal.
Yeah, folks, this, and we had a really serious problem here. I think that this all stems from the popular story about the Rastafarians getting an exemption and being allowed to use marijuana in their religious practices.
But now they're not.
Are they not?
No.
They can't do that
The judge
anymore?
overturned that. No, he said no.
But that story, and whether drugs should be legalized or not, separate issue.
That was in Guam, where that was going on. Where the
Really?
Rastafari,
It was never even in the U.S.?
I don't think so.
But that story got around. Everybody got it into their heads that religiosity is just a carte blanche freedom to do whatever your crazy religion says you should do.
Yeah.
Anything.
Like starve your kid.
It's not.
Ugh.
All right. Speaking of which, religious group irked at being booted from IHOP. That's International House of Pancakes, for those who might not have them in their area. St. Petersburg, Florida. Every week for 15 years, the handful of people who make up the Light in the Night Church have clustered in the corner of a restaurant and read from their Bibles.
AKA Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity.
Friday, they were evicted after customers complained about proselytizing in the Pancake House. Robert Lebrun, 35, said his group of 4 to 7 gathers at the International House of Pancakes at 1209 South Pasadena Avenue in St. Petersburg to read scripture and talk about what's going on in their lives. Customers, though, have been complaining about being bothered by their church members. Last week, for instance, one of the members struck up small talk with customer Deborah Harvey. Quote, "All of a sudden, Jesus Christ starts coming into it, and there's an awful lot about religion," she said. Like others, she complained to the management. IHOP manager Robbie Hearn took the complaints to corporate headquarters, and he was ready with an idea when church members appeared Friday night. He suggested the group move its weekly gathering to a Clearwater, Florida IHOP that has a designated meeting room. Quote, "Our establishment is a restaurant, not a convention center, not a banquet hall," Hearn said. But the group did not like the idea. When they started to swear at him, he called the sheriff's office to have them escorted from the property. They were not kicked out for religious reasons, Hearn said. They were kicked out for their attitude.
Yeah.
Lebrun denied that the group's members were bothering customers and said they intend to question IHOP headquarters about its policies. In the meantime, the group has moved its meeting to a nearby Pizza Hut.
Oh, well, and the Pizza Hut manager's going, oh, no, I can't.
And here's an important safety tip for members of our listening audience.
Yeah.
When Christians are irritating and pester you in places where they are violating your rights, complain. Get the word out. Speak to people in charge. They do not want Christian abuses to get in the way of the smooth running of their, say, pancake house, right? Or the business that you work at, or anything, right? That is counterproductive for them. They will stop it, but you got to open your mouth about it. You gotta not just sit there and take it. We can stop this stuff. We can squelch this idea that simply being a Christian gives you carte blanche to get in everybody's face and be a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, you have very limited time left if you're going to get to your...
I got one last story. Do you guys have more stories?
No, go for it.
I have some, but
I do too, but they can wait.
Over.
We need to get to the pedophilia story.
Well, I'm going to do this one, and then we get to pedophilia.
Okay.
And this was one that Vic originally brought, so I want to make sure, since we both thought it was worth it.
The Ten Commandments?
No, this is the, well, you can do those. Just mention the places. Ten Commandments monuments have gone down in 2 more places.
2 more places. One would be in... One was in Mishawaka. The city of Mishawaka is going to give up its fight, and Crestview is coming down.
All right. That's
Yippee!
Florida.
That's Florida.
Awesome.
Right.
Now this is all entirely clear. Every single one of those 10 Commandments monuments on public property is a violation of the Constitution and needs to come down.
Absolutely.
Right.
That is now
One of these particular monuments is a Fraternal Order of Eagles monument.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do a 3D animation of 10 Commandments monuments set up like dominoes.
Yeah.
With one knocked down next one, because that's the way it's going.
Well, just FYI, there was a 9-year-old boy that was.
To close the music now.
Okay, I'll skip that last story and go straight to pedophilia, and I'll be as quick as I can.
Okay.
All right. Tasmania, that's an island alongside Australia. Their Catholic Church supplied a convicted pedophile priest with a car.
What?
And the church has confirmed that it paid compensation to the woman the priest abused, but included a confidentiality clause. The revelations come days after Sydney, Australia's Archbishop denied he had paid hush money to victims of clergy.
Was it a cruiser? Oh.
It was a
pedophilia cruiser?
It's a Toyota Camry. Charges of sexual abuse by nuns.
Oh, no.
Apparently, while it's little known, it is not an anomaly.
No.
There was a book that came out in 1995, Habits of Sin, an expose of nuns who sexually abused children and each other.
Yuck.
In Vermont, lawsuits by as many as 100 former residents of Burlington's now shuttered St. Joseph's Orphanage charges sexual abuse between the 1940s and 50s. A nun named along with 11 priests in a current suit against the Diocese of Providence, Rhode Island. 2 impending suits involving Boston nuns by attorney Roderick McLeish. In a complaint brought to the Archdiocese of Boston, a woman said she was raped repeatedly by a nun as a first grader. Quote, she held me back another year so she could keep doing it.
First grade, that's a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And keep in mind, if some of those were in the 40s and 50s, imagine the kind of environment, that was happening during. I mean, you couldn't say anything to anybody.
A.W. Richard Sipe, a psychologist, a psychotherapist, and former priest who has done extensive work with pedophile priests, said he has worked on dozens of nun cases. Although he said there were no studies regarding the number of nuns who molest children, the anecdotal evidence is telling. Quote, I was on the St. Joseph's Orphanage case and interviewed a number of victims. In one case, this nun would get a boy an erection and then burn him on his penis, he said, noting a common thread of sadism mixed with sex in many of the allegations. The sadism is worth noting, he said. I think they got away with the sex abuse because of the stereotype of nuns slapping kids with rulers. If you want to talk about a secret world, the nunnery is it. The diocese is an open book compared with the convent, said Gary Schoner, a Minnesota psychotherapist who has treated thousands of religious people. The Vatican, in its magazine, Civilta Cattolica, published by Jesuit priests, went after the American press for paying so much attention to the pedophilia scandal. Priest removed from past misdeeds in Arizona. Reverend Neil Emmon, 61, removed from public ministry because of past sexual misconduct. Last week we did the story about the very, very, very gay-looking website about wrestling that a priest put up. That website has come down. Quote, we are not and have never been and never will be pornographic or sexual, they said in a statement.
Please.
Rather, the association was a makeshift attempt to mimic and spoof pro wrestling. The website's stated purpose was to raise money for Thomas Maya, a California teen who was paralyzed and suffered brain damage in a 1994 auto accident. But Maya's mother, Marcella, said Monday she has not received any money from the organization. Okay, now the priests, the Catholic bishops came up with a plan that they're gonna talk about in this upcoming meeting in Dallas. That of defrocking any priest who sexually abuses children in the future. But if you only did it once,
you're still a priest.
In the past, you get to still be a priest. And that's just astounding. Astounding that they would allow somebody in a clerical collar who has abused children while wearing the clerical collar to keep his job. Just amazing.
Or to give him a car.
They know they wouldn't have hardly anybody left if they kicked out all the people that have done it even once.
Yep.
Former priest oh, good grief, I'm not going to do that story. I have a long story here about a woman who married an ex-priest.
We'll have to do that one next week.
She married, let me summarize. She married an ex-priest. Before the marriage, she didn't know anything about his past, right? Other than that he used to be a priest.
No, she didn't know that either.
No, she knew that.
She did,
She did know that.
Oh, yeah.
But she didn't know he'd been convicted as a rapist.
Oh, no.
Before they could get married, he came to her and said, the church requires that we have psychological testing before we get married. And she thought that was weird, but went ahead and did it. Found out later it's because the church knew that she was marrying a convicted rapist and pedophile. And they didn't tell her. They just let her go ahead and marry this guy. She has now divorced him again, which is also against the rules for Catholicism.
All right.
And there's a story.
He went to prison. See, she didn't know he was a priest, and she didn't know he hadn't been convicted. He got convicted
she
after
knew he had been a priest.
Yeah, he got convicted after they got married because someone came and spoke up.
All right, I'll do the whole story next week.
And
because I don't agree with your interpretation, and I've read it.
I read it too.
Okay, but we don't have time to discuss.
Different
it.
version.
Say goodbye.
Finally, in nearly 1,000 pages of personnel files have come out in Boston, exposing more lies by Cardinal Law concerning pedophile priests in that part of the country. Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. We will leave you with Books Are Burning by XTC, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.